Hello everybody, my name is ProfRich, and today we're talking about modal verbs in the context of future predictions, the present, and history in the past. We're doing everything. This is modal verbs like you've never seen them before, unless you pay attention to how people use modal verbs in the real world, which is what we're interested in on this channel. That is how people use language in the real world. You can see the plan for today. We'll talk about the past and the future. We will discuss and practice pure modals. We're going to revise the semi-modals. We're not going to go into details with the semi-modals, but that is a topic which I'll cover in a future video. And then we're going to react to English Lessons with Kate, who released a video on modal verbs yesterday. And I'm going to give my honest opinion on that. I've watched a bit of the video, I haven't watched all of it. And I'm sorry to pick on you, Kate. It's just simply because you released a video yesterday. There's no other reason for that. You are the lucky one. So, that's the plan for today, folks. Maybe we should get right into it. So let's start by just reminding ourselves. Well, let's start by talking about these questions which I've come up with. What do you think life was like in the past, and what will it be like in the future? These questions are intended to establish our context. It's very important that whenever you do some language learning, that you do it in a context. Otherwise, you're looking at language in the wrong way. So first, establish the context. Critically important. What do you think life was like in the past, and what will it be like in the future? So answers in the chat. What do you think about that? You can look at the pictures to give you some inspiration. We have the first picture. Looks like some sort of medieval village, and then the second picture in the past, that might be pre-medieval. That looks like Dark Ages, so I would say it's post-Roman but pre-medieval. And then looking at the other pictures, what will it be like in the future? In the bottom left, looks like we have some sort of virtual reality or computer interface. It might be similar to the computer interface that's used in films like Iron Man. And then in the bottom right, we have what could be a future image of a city. And notice in that picture, we have the integration of nature and urban living, which is, of course, one of the ideals of current policy on cities. So what do you guys think about that? What do you guys think about the past and the future? Manuel says life in the past was relentless, but the future will be absolutely out of my mind. That's not an English expression, Manuel. I have no idea what the future will be like, says Manuel. Zoya says that life in the past was more serene and peaceful. Life in the future will be highly technological. Highly technological. That's quite a nice way of putting it. Shimi says in the past, many people were into agriculture and taking care of livestock. That's right. And Pallavi says people were more passionate about living a simple life. That's true, Pallavi. That's very insightful, actually. In the past, people were more passionate about living a simple life. So we've established our context. Let's move on. Let's remind ourselves, what are the 9 pure modals? Do you remember? For you folks watching the video at home, you can pause the video now and remind yourself about the 9 pure modals. A pure modal is a single word which always functions like a modal. So it's a single word which always functions like a modal. And the semi-modals are words which sometimes function like a modal or phrases which function like a modal. So semi-modals are words which sometimes function like a modal or phrases which function like a modal. Whereas the pure modals, the 9 pure modal verbs, are single words that always function like a modal. And of course, everybody knows modal verbs only have one form. So you don't put an S on the end for the third person. You don't put an ED on the end to make a regular simple past. Modal verbs only have one form, and the form of the verb that comes after a modal is always the infinitive or the base form of the verb. Everybody knows that. Right? So here's our 9 pure modals. May, might, could, can, would, will, shall, should, and must. And if we pronounce them in the weak form, which is the most common form to pronounce them, then we have may, might, could, can, would, will, shall, should, and must. Must be, must be, must be, must be. All right. So there's our pure modals. Let's move on. Let's look at this sentence here. This sentence says, you should have another coffee. Notice the pronunciation. You should have another coffee. The stress here is on have another coffee. You should have another coffee. You should have another coffee. What's the meaning of should? Can we use another modal here with the same meaning? And can should, or should in the strong form, can should mean anything else? Can should mean anything else? Let's see what you guys think. You should have another coffee. You should have another coffee. It's a piece of advice. That's right, Manuel. So you should have another coffee. It's a piece of advice. And we might say it's a suggestion as well. So it's like advice and a suggestion, isn't it? Advice, a suggestion, maybe even a criticism. If someone's falling asleep and you say, you should have another coffee. So it's like advice, suggestion, criticism. Notice there's not a definite answer. It's not like, oh, it's black is black, white is white. What we see here is that there are multiple functions. A bit of advice, a bit of suggestion, and a little bit criticism. Of course, it depends on the context. As we know, context is everything. Almost everything. Context is key. So we can see that the function is not black and white, but more or less it's advice with a bit of suggestion. And I'm going to show you why that's important in a moment with modals. It's important to understand and accept that we cannot simply categorize modals like a 0 and a 1. This is black, this is white, this is red, this is blue. It's more complicated than that. So the meaning of should here is advice or a suggestion. Can we use another modal here? And we have many examples in the chat. So we've got ought to. We have must. And of course, must can also be advice. You must have another coffee. Ought to. You might wanna, says Anawat. I love that. I love that phrase. You might wanna. You might want to have another coffee, right? So that's, again, we can use might. We can use might for advice. You might want to. Even will. You'll probably want to have another coffee. You'll probably want to have another coffee. That's advice with will. You'll probably want to have another coffee. 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 It's actually a very, very common phrase that people use a lot. You'll probably want to have you'll probably want to have another coffee. It'd be a good idea. It'd be a good idea if you had another coffee, I think. It'd be a good idea if I had another coffee right now. Brilliant. We love our coffee. It'd be a good idea if I had another coffee. It'd be a good idea if we all had another coffee. So the answer to question 2 is yes. And in fact, there are many. The answer to question 1 is advice and other things. And number 3, can should or should mean anything else? Of course it can. What else can should mean other than advice, suggestion, and criticism? What else can should mean? Chat? Go. What are the other functions of should? So advice, suggestion, recommendation, expectations. Good, nice. Expectations. The train should arrive in 5 minutes. My Amazon parcel should arrive tomorrow. My Amazon parcel should have already arrived. Expectation. Anything else? Insisting on something? Yeah, I mean, with context, Pallavi, that's right. Like, you should go right now. You should go right now. That's not a suggestion, and that is not advice, and that is not a recommendation. That's insisting, isn't it? It's like a warning. You should go right now. So we can see that context is very important. Intonation is important, and the context of a situation is critical. It's critical. So, I'm going to show you a lovely table that I've made. Are you ready for this? Are you ready for this, people watching YouTube? Because I know that people will click on this part of the video because they'll see the lovely table. Here it is. Do you like that? That took me 15 minutes to make that. Let's look at this a second. It's great, isn't it? This is a table showing modals in the present. I'm going to reappear and put myself up here for a moment. This is a table showing modals in the present. I made it. You can see at the top the pure modals, all of the pure modals. And down the left, you can see the functions. And I haven't put all the functions, right? Pallavi just mentioned insisting. That's a function. That's a function of language. I insist you should go now. And warning, I didn't put that. So I haven't put everything. So the table could be more complicated. But I've put the functions that I think are the most common for the pure modals in the present. And we can see the functions down the left. And then we have my smiley face system. So this one, the big happy face, means that is a very common use. So if you're giving advice, which modal verb is very common? It's should. Should is the most common for advice. And the most common use of should is advice. And then the next one is a happy face. So a happy face means, yeah, this is quite common. People use this quite a bit. So you notice for advice, there's lots of options, right? Like you may want to have a coffee. You might want to have a coffee. You could have a coffee. If I were you, I'd have a coffee. How do you use will? You'll want to have a coffee if you do that. If you go there, you'll want to have a coffee. If you go out today, you'll want to take your umbrella. That's advice, right? You should take your umbrella. Oh, you must see the new film. You must see it. It's great. Right? So you'll notice there's many ways of expressing advice. And there's quite a lot of ways that are pretty common. So we got very common, pretty common. And then next we got the clown face. What's the clown face? The clown face is complicated. The clown face means it is possible. As in, you can use that word to mean that thing. So you can use can or can to mean advice. It's possible. But it's a bit weird and it's quite specific, right? So let's say, for example, I'm telling you holiday recommendations and I say, oh, yeah, you should, if you're going to Mexico, you should go to the Yucatan and you should go not to Playa del Carmen, but go further south and you go to Tulum, right? Because in Tulum, it's great, right? Once you get to Tulum, you can go to the beach and you can rent you don't even need to rent anything, actually. You can go to the beach, you can see the iguanas on the beach, you can see the sea turtles, and you don't need to pay anything. The beach is just free. It's a public beach and it's beautiful, and there's not as many people as there are at Playa del Carmen. So notice I used can there, and I used it for the function of giving advice or making a suggestion as well, we could say. However, it was only possible because I used can like a general sense. So I'm saying this is a function, an ability or possibility that comes from that situation. And whenever you're in that situation, in this case, whenever you're at Tulum, you can do these things, right? But I used it for advice. So when you see the clown face means it's complicated. Basically, it means it is possible, but complicated. And then finally, we've got the angry face. The angry face means no. And if you're paying attention, you'll notice that should and must have a lot of angry faces. More angry faces than the other ones. Should, in fact, is probably the least common modal verb today. The least common pure modal, anyway. So that is my modals in the present cheat sheet. Now, why am I showing you this? I'm showing you this because I want to demonstrate that learning modal verbs in that way, in a functional way, might not be the most useful way of learning. So, for example, I don't recommend that you go out and study and learn this chart, right? It's a nice chart to have, and it's nice for you to look at and go, ooh, interesting, right? That's great. But you don't need to learn it. There's an easier way to learn language. And I've noticed that a lot of the videos on YouTube, they teach like this. Actually, they teach a simpler version of this, but they teach like that. And we all know, teachers know that it's not the best way to learn. It is useful. I want to just make this clear. It is useful. But better that we come from the context and the meaning first, and then later we go to the form. Essentially, what we're seeing down there is form and function. All right, so there's your lovely table. Does anyone have any questions about the lovely table before we move on? What I would like to do now is I would like to give you the solution I just talked about. So I want to focus on the meaning. I'm going to show you some sentences in the present using modals, and I want you to match those sentences to the functions. All right? Here we go. So you have 6 sentences in the present, and I want you to match those sentences to the functions. So we got 6 sentences, and we have 6 functions at the bottom there. Requests, suggestions, deductions, willingness, hedging, and permission. I'll just zoom out a little bit. That's better, isn't it? And now I can get a bit bigger. Hello. Match the sentences to the functions below. And you can, in fact, see there that one of the words in each sentence is in bold. And that is the specific pure modal that we are concerned with. I want to know, what is the function of that modal? So what is the function of the modal that's in bold? Plavi asked a very interesting question. She says, what does hedging mean, teacher? Hedging is a way of being polite by adding less certainty. So you make something less hard, less certain, less definite, and that is more polite. We call that hedging. So for example, I could say, you're wrong. That's very direct. Or I could say, I think you might not be right. That's hedging. So you're wrong. I think you might not be right. Okay? Another example. Go home. Versus, it might be a good idea if you think about leaving soon. That's hedging. So we use language to soften what we're saying to be more polite. That's called hedging. I should give you guys the countdown timer. Do you like the countdown timer or not? I need to get more feedback from the streams, don't I? I did do a poll at the start of the stream today, and I said, do you like weird modal verbs like dare and shall or should? And 76% of you said yes. 23% said no. That's interesting. We'll do a bit more weird language then, since that's what you like. Is that right? More weird language? You know, I've always found it a little bit tricky to pour myself a coffee with this microphone arm. The answers are coming in from Sleepwalker, Maria del Carmen, and Shimi. And you have 40 seconds left. And we'll take this moment just to remind you to smash that like button right now. This is a like bomb. We're gonna bomb, like bomb YouTube. Smash that like button right now. Ding, ding, ding. Type in the chat, comment down below, share with your friends, call up your mother and say, Mum, it's time you learn English. Go watch the live stream with ProfRich. Phone up your brother and say, brother, I haven't spoken to you in 7 years, but now is the time for you to watch ProfRich live stream and learn some English. So yeah, do that right now and smash that like button. Thank you very much. Time is up. So I'll give you the answers. You may begin making your predictions now. That is permission. Number 1. Number 2, could you give me your thoughts on the future? That is a request. Number 3, shall we discuss the future? That is a suggestion. Number 4, will you tell us your ideas? Yes, I will. I will. That's willingness. Who's that at the door? Oh, it must be Tom. That is deductions. And number 6, I think it might be difficult. That is hedging. Hedging, number 6. All right, moving on. So, modals in the present, part 2. That's it. We're being comprehensive today, folks. We're really going through all these different functions of modals, and we're getting to grips with the meaning of these modals. So, modals in the present, part 2. You can see down the bottom of your screen the different functions for this one. And I'd like you to match the sentences 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 with the functions down below the video. Manuel Gordillo, he's so fast. He's coming in with answers already. So the problem that Pallavi's having is that she doesn't know the meaning of the function words. And that's understandable, Pallavi, because they are actually quite difficult words. So I'll try to explain them a bit simpler. Advice, you know that. Necessity means a need. I'll type it in the chat. Decisions is if you need to decide something. Do you want cakes or chocolate? Cakes. That's a decision. Make a choice, right? Ability means can do something. Like, can you speak English? Yes, I can speak English. Possibility, I think you know what that is. Prohibition means it is against the rules or against the law. That's prohibition. And obligation. Obligation means a duty. You have a duty. Legal, moral, or a work duty to do something. That's an obligation. We can also say that you are obliged to do something. And in 30 seconds, I'll give you the answers. I'm just going to put a timer up so people know when that's going to happen in the video. I really want to set up some special things on OBS. I haven't done it yet. I want to set up a thing where it goes like the video now, and all these thumbs come up. Need to do that. And also, I want to set up a soundboard. Let's see if this one is any good.
Huh?
Whoa, that's way louder than I thought. Okay, we won't be using that soundboard. Sorry about that. Right, so here come the answers. You should think about it more. That is, of course, advice. I'll be back in a minute. I must visit the loo. That is necessity. We're okay. I'll have a coffee, please. That's a decision. I can't imagine that. I can't imagine that the future. What? Okay, and I've corrected that sentence to, I can't imagine the future like that. Which is ability. In this case, it's inability. Our prediction might be accurate is possibility. We mustn't talk too loud is prohibition. And we must finish our conversation soon is obligation. So that's given us a pretty good idea of modal verbs in the present. We've gone through a variety of functions of modal verbs in the present. So how about now we go on to modal verbs in the future? If you remember that the context today is about predictions, and here we've got some predictions and some other sentences about modal verbs in the future, and I'll just give you about 2 minutes to do this. The timer starts now. Let's just have a look at those functions to see if there's any that you might struggle with. I think we know prediction and possibility. Determination. So determination is when you have a strong want or a strong drive, desire, intent that you will do it. Like, yes, I'm going to do this. I will get 1 million subscribers in the next 5 minutes. I'm determined. Let's do it. So that's determination. Intention, similar to determination, but a little bit different. Intention is kind of what you want to do that you haven't quite done yet. Like, I intend to have a drink of my coffee. And now I'm having a drink of my coffee. So in intention, what you intend is like what you want to do. I almost think of it like an arrow in your brain, and it's pointing, and that's where you want to go. So whereas determination is like when that's very strong and you're like, I will do this. Intention is like, I intend to. I intend to. I have the intention to do that. I am going to do that, but not necessarily with the same level of energy as determination. Expectation, I think we know that. Imaginary situations means it's not real. You're just playing with ideas about the future. And of course, we know what advice is. All right, so let's have a look at some answers. Number 1, it might be a better world. It might be a better world is a possibility. We should have cured cancer in the next 50 years is an expectation. It'd be great if we lived on Mars is an imaginary situation. I will be a successful doctor one day is determination. We will get married next year is an intention. You must get out of London before 2050 is advice. And I think we'll have nice houses in the future is a prediction. Does anyone have any questions about the answers there? And since we have talked about the present and the future, I think you can probably imagine what's happening next. Anowat says, what's the difference between possibility and probability? So, as I said at the start of the video, Anowat, a lot of these functions have an overlap. And possibility and prediction, of course, do have a strong overlap because, in fact, a prediction is an expression of my opinion about possibility. So that's what prediction is, right? Prediction is my opinion, which may or may not be informed of a possibility. That's all it is. Some people might say it's the same thing, but I do think there is a bit of a difference. Like, there's a difference between saying there's a 50% chance of the coin landing on heads, right? Like, that is possibility. That's not a prediction. But if I say I think the coin will land on heads, that's a prediction. So there is some difference, but they are closely related. And by the way, learning to think a bit like this, to think in a way that's more open to overlapping categories, will help your language and your English, because that's really how language works. So it's very useful to categorize, but also to accept that we will get things that don't fit so nice into our little categories. It's something that we're kind of seeing right now in certain political areas that I'm not going to talk about. All right. Let's move on to the past. Modals in the past. Got quite a few of these, so I'm going to zoom out a little bit more. Put myself in the bottom right. And for this one, I'll give you 2.5 minutes. So, looking at those at the bottom, I think I'll definitely need to explain a few of those. So let me have a go at that. Deduction. Deduction is Sherlock Holmes. I'm going to just increase the time a little bit because it'll take me a while to explain these. Deduction is Sherlock Holmes. Deduction is you have some evidence or some ideas and you're going to use that to make guesses, informed guesses about the past. That's deduction. You can do it about the present as well and the future, but let's talk about the past. So we're thinking about the past and we're trying to use the evidence to make good guesses about the past. That's deduction. Criticism means I think that someone else did something wrong in the past. Regret is when I did something that I think was wrong in the past. Superfluity. I'll say that again. Superfluity. It's a nice word, isn't it? I think it's superfluity because it's from superfluous.
Superfluity.
Oh, it's superfluity. How about that? I kind of prefer superfluity, actually, but superfluity, according to Google, I'm not sure I trust that. Superfluity, I'm going to keep saying it like that. Superfluity means an excess. It means something that was unnecessary, but we had or happened. So it means, and it just wasn't, there was no need for that, but it happened. That's superfluity. Then fear, we know that. Expectation, yes. An obligation, I spoke about before, is a duty. Something that you must do. But now it's the past. So you have about 1 minute to do that. All right. So Shimi, Sleepwalker, Sonia Bottorini, and Anawats have got answers in. And Manuel, Mina, well done. All right. So here come the answers. Number 1, some dinosaurs could fly. That is ability. Number 2, the Romans must have had amazing technology. That is deduction. Number 3, Henry VIII should have behaved better. That's criticism. Number 4, I should have studied history at school. That is regret. Number 5, the Americans needn't have entered World War II. That is superfluity. Number 6, I daren't have faced Napoleon. That's fear in the past. Number 7, the students should have arrived 10 minutes ago is expectation. We might also say that there's some criticism there. As I said before, we have overlaps. And number 8, Victorian school children had to work in the mines is obligation in the past. And Pallavi says all my answers are wrong. Don't worry, Pallavi. This is actually quite difficult. Modals, the function of modals in the past is not easy. So, hopefully, that has really stimulated your mind on the topic of modal verbs. So, I want you to really think about all of the different uses of modal verbs in the present, the future, the past that we've looked at today. Have a think about that and have a think about what questions you might have. And I will answer those questions in a little bit. But first, let's remind ourselves, what are the semimodals? Now you'll notice we had one semimodal in the previous exercise. So what are the semimodals? What are the 10 semimodals? Now I say 10, but actually with semimodals, there is some debate about what is a semimodal and what isn't. So some people say there's 4 semimodals. Some people say there's 14 semimodals. Okay, I've gone for 10. Don't worry, Pallavi. Whenever Manuel says something, just realise that he means it in a very good way. He says it with a smile on his face. He is a man who smiles most of the time. So don't worry, it's not the criticism you think it is. All right, some great answers coming in. I'll show you what I have. We got have to, have gotta, ought to, used to, be able to, be supposed to, be going to, or be gonna, be about to, dare to, and need to. We can also, of course, use dare and need without the to. We can just say dare and need. I daren't do it, especially in the negative. We use these sometimes. We needn't go right now. I daren't tell him. I dare not. I dare not, sir. I dare not. I'm sorry. Did you suggest me with a horse at midnight in the stables? Huh. I dare not answer such a question, sir. I dare not. I told you, I did warn you. I warned you today was going to be a bit crazy. All right, folks. Well done. Did anyone have any suggestions that I didn't have? I don't think so. That's great. All right, so that's our little bit of revision on the semi-modals. Maybe, I think questions will be next, because I'm going to look at this lady. We are going to do a reaction to English Lessons with Kate, who released a video on this yesterday. And I think it would be wise to do questions first, and then we'll do the reaction. So we're going to watch her video. It's a 14-minute video. I don't know if I'll watch all of it. As you can see, I did watch some of it before. And I'm going to talk about some of the things that she says. So it's going to be a teacher teaching you using another teacher. It's like Inception. In the meantime, it is question time, and you can, of course, download the notes from today. And while I'm here, I'll tell you a few other things. First of all, if you have any questions about the stream today, then you can put those questions right now in the chat, and I will do my best to answer them. I will answer any questions about English, learning English, or whatever. Especially questions about modals. That would be great. In the meantime, I also wanted to say that I do have some space for students right now. I am recruiting students. So if you would like lessons with me one-to-one, you can do that. You can email ProfRich, that's spelled the Spanish way, where profesor means teacher, professorrich@gmail.com. And let me know. We will do a level test and then try to work out a time for lessons. So if you'd like to have lessons, you can do that. I have the space for about 2 more students right now. And I'm thinking about group classes. Let's do a poll. I'll do a quick poll. So while people vote on the poll, if you have any questions about English, about modals, type them in the chat right now. The poll is, would you be interested in group classes of English with ProfRich? They would be once or twice, and probably once per week. And they would be, how many students would I do? It'd have to be a minimum of 4 and a maximum of, online, probably a maximum of 8. I would love to do more, but the problem is you get internet problems and it doesn't work. So it'd have to be 4 to 8 students. It would be a little bit cheaper than my usual rate, obviously. Well, it'd be significantly cheaper than my usual rate. I'll just see how much interest there is in that. All right. Plavi has a question. Blavi says, teacher, what's the difference between prediction and imaginary situations and expectations? So when we prediction, we try to guess what will really happen in the future, right? So like, I want to know if it will rain tomorrow. We look at the clouds, we look at the weather patterns, we use our amazing science data, and then we conclude whether or not it will rain. So that's a prediction, Blavi, where we're using all of this information to think about the future and consider if it really will rain or not. That's us making a prediction. Now, expectation. Expectation means we are certain or almost certain that something will happen. If it doesn't happen, we won't be happy. Or, let's put it another way, if it doesn't happen, we'll be very surprised. Or we'll at least be surprised. So as you can see, expectation involves some prediction. In order to have an expectation, before that, there needed to be some sort of prediction. Prediction leads to expectation. When we have a prediction with a high level of certainty, then we form an expectation. So if I look at the sky and it's full of clouds and I think it's gonna rain in 5 minutes, that's my prediction. And now I have the expectation that it will rain. And then 5 minutes, it should have started raining, but it hasn't. I'm shocked. So that's expectation. And then moving on, you said imaginary situations. When I said imaginary situations, I mean things that we know are not real. So we know it's not real, right? Like, if I had £1 billion, I would live on an island in the middle of nowhere. Do I live on an island in the middle of nowhere? No. Do I have £1 billion? No. But I'm imagining it. I know it's not real. But I'm imagining it. So you might think of predictions as you might think of imaginary situations as situations which are almost impossible. Not necessarily impossible, but they can be impossible, right? You can actually use imaginary situations as impossible situations. Like if gravity didn't exist, the world would not be round. Okay? That's impossible because gravity does exist. If 1 + 1 was equal to 3, I'd have another coffee. So obviously here I'm considering the condition of something totally impossible. So it is possible to consider the impossible. We can also consider things which are possible but very unlikely. For example, if I won the lottery tomorrow, I'd take an immediate holiday. That is possible, but it's very unlikely because, hey, it's the lottery. So I hope that helps, Pallavi. Let's move on. Sleepwalker says, Rich, is can't have common to use? For example, he can't have been late. Yeah, it is. All of those deduction verbs are quite common, apart from will have, which is probably the least common, but can't have is common, yeah. You can't have failed the exam again. We studied all week. Yeah, people do use can't have. And it's common. Mina says, can you tell me an alternative for it helps? Can you tell me an alternative for it helps? It helps. Like it's useful. It's helpful. It does the job. It does a good job. It serves its purpose. It serves a useful function. Is this where we're going with that, Mina? Is that what you're after? Let me know if that answers your question, Mina. I'm going back to Sleepwalker, who says, is may have common, or should we use might have? Yeah, may have been. It might have been. Might, in general, might is more common than may in all uses. But, yes, people use may have. No, he may have. He might have. He may have. He may have done it. He may have done it. He might have done it. Yeah. They're both good, Sleepwalker. But in general, might is more common than may in all uses, except... Oh, yes. Except... asking for permission. Now use your phone a moment. Yeah. You can say, might I use your phone a moment? That is possible. And it has the same meaning of asking for permission. But in this case, may is more common, actually. Right. Anawat. Could you explain the usage and context of modal verbs like shall, ought, and dare in modern English? I'm curious if they're still commonly used or become obsolete. Lovely question. So, dare, as in dare to, is not obsolete at all. And is used in US and UK English. What you're thinking of is dare as a pure modal. Right? That's the weird one, is dare as a pure modal. So dare as a pure modal is only ever used in the negative in modern English, and it's basically non-existent in US English. So we use dare in the negative in UK English, right? That is daren't. Now, in the question of is it obsolete, the answer is no. So, just to give you an example, when I think of daren't, I can think of many occasions actually when my dad used it. I daren't do it. I daren't go, right? My dad actually used that quite a lot, that word daren't. So it's definitely nowhere near obsolete. It absolutely is used. In terms of dare to, yes, 100% it's used. But as a pure modal, less common, only in the negative, not in the US, but in the UK, yes. And as a modal, as a pure modal in the negative in the UK. Okay? So that's that one. The direction of travel is towards obsolescence. So we are moving towards a world where we're not going to use that. But you never know. You never know what happens with language. So don't write it off. All it'll take is a TikTok trend. And before you know it, all the kids are saying daren't. You never know. So, no, it's not obsolete. Okay, moving on. Shall. Shall has a very, very useful common purpose. Let me get bigger. Shall has a very, very useful common purpose. And that is shall is extremely common for group suggestions or first person offers / suggestions. So, shall I and shall we? It's one of the most common ways to make a group or first person suggestion. Shall I give you a hand? Shall I explain that again? Should we get a quick coffee? Very common for that. In the US and in the UK. However, using shall like will for intention, like I shall help you. Or shan't, I shan't tell you anything, you brute. This use is quite outdated and sounds a little 19th century. So that use is quite outdated and sounds a bit old-fashioned, okay? Which is using shall, especially shan't. That's not to say that it is obsolete. It's not obsolete. It's just old-fashioned. So you can still use it. It is not archaic. When I say archaic or obsolete, I mean words like thou, thee, thy, whilst, right? No, not whilst. Thank you, Google. Whilst. Thou willst know my true intentions. Right? This is Old English. This is really archaic. This is out of date. However, shall and shan't, not yet. Just old-fashioned. And then finally, you mentioned ought to. So ought to is something like shall, but maybe a little bit less old-fashioned, actually. So ought to is still used, especially in formal and well-spoken contexts. Ought to, in general, sounds a little more well-spoken and polite than should. It does not, or it is not obsolete or archaic yet. All right. So you can basically use ought to as a substitute for should when you want to sound formal or a bit more polite. And Animal also says, if you won the lottery, who would get the lion's share of your money, Ginger or Pepper? If I won the lottery, Animat, then my wife would get the lion's share of the money. Yeah. 50% my wife, 45% me, and 5% Ginger and Pepper. Maybe 4% Ginger and Pepper and 1% our local church. And I know that my wife will disagree with me on that. She is very charitable and she wants to give all of our money away all the time. Okay, moving on. Might is more formal than may. No, Pachu, that's not the case. In general, may is more formal than might, actually. In general, may is more formal than might. Asmana says, what's the difference between how can I improve my English and how could I improve my English? So, the pragmatic answer. The pragmatic answer is, it depends on context, but essentially there is little difference. The form-based answer is can is used for general possibility or ability, and could is used for specific situational possibility or hypothetical ability. So that's the form-based answer, Asmana. So what does that mean? Well, it means what can I do means what do I have the ability to do, or what do I have the general possibility, which means an always true possibility based on the specified conditions to do, right? And what could I do means what do I have the specific possibility to do, or what do I have the possibility to do in a specific situation, for example, wanting to improve your English, or what do I have, or what might I have the hypothetical ability to do now or in the future. So that's your form-based answer. Are you happy with your form-based answer? As you can see, there's not too much difference. How would you use it? That's the question. I think that what can students do to improve their English would be a good thing to say on its own if we didn't have any specific context. And notice that I've used students, so I'm not talking about you specifically, but I'm talking about the ability that students in general have and what they can generally do to improve their English. So Asmana has an IELTS exam in 3 months. Right now, he is about a 6.5 in speaking, but he wants to get a 7.0. What could he do to achieve that goal? So could here would be much better. If I said what can he do, it sounds actually a little bit wrong. What can he do to achieve that goal? It is still possible, to be honest with you, to say can, because I could still be talking about Asmana's general ability. But I think in this situation, could would be a better option. So hopefully that helps you understand that a little bit, Asmana. We are, of course, overlapping functions. We're saying that it's not black and it's not white, but I'm just giving you a better idea of when you might use each of those. That's absolutely right, Pachu. In general, we use will. Shall is not really used very much, except for first person, single and plural suggestions. We do not use will for first person, plural or singular suggestions. Oh, Pachu, that is an amazing comment. Thank you for that. That's comment of the day. I'm pinning that. Amazing. Well done. You're king of the comments. We study grammar without context, so it's difficult to apply. Amazing. I should just end the stream there because that's just such an amazing realization or amazing comment to say. Yeah, that is the problem with 99% of English study. That's the reason why people can study endless grammar books and then not learn anything or learn very little. It's exactly that. Well done. Right. All right, folks. So we seem to have run out of questions. That's great. And ending my poll, 60% of people were interested in group lessons. So that's great. So I promised I'd do it. So let's do it. We're going to react to English with Kate. I feel like I could really do with another coffee for this. But I'm going to do it. There she is. I'm just going to take a little bit of a break. I'm going to grab a glass of... Shall I have a coffee or Coca-Cola or what shall I have? I don't know what to have. I feel like I need something. It's going to be a coffee, I think. I'll be back in 2 minutes. And then I'm going to react to this. So Rich, we're back in 2 minutes. And Rich can't type. So my keyboard's broken. Rich, we're back in 2 minutes. Then I'll react to this. All right, folks, I'll see you in 2 minutes. I'll put some music on.
Get 75% off QuickBooks for 1 year. With QuickBooks, you can create personalised custom invoices, track their status, and send automatic reminders when they're overdue. Take control of your business finances with simple, smart accounting software from QuickBooks.
Get iPhone 15 Pro Max. Titanium goes pro. With O2, claim a £150 digital prepaid MasterCard on us. From £65 a month. Go on, treat yourself. O2, see what you can do.
Right. I am back. So, I think we're going to do this. Probably need to reappear, don't I? How big we're going to be? Maybe quite big. Not quite this big, but big-ish.
There is.
Right. Not sure if the music's a good idea. Let's just get rid of that. I hate stopping music like that. I like it when it just fades out. All right then, so here we go. Reacting to English with Kate, or whatever. What's the channel called? Something like English Lessons with Kate, or English Teaching with Kate, something like that. So I had never seen English with Kate before. She's very popular. She's got like 5 billion subscribers. So I'm sure she won't mind a little reaction. And when someone has 5 billion subscribers, it's absolutely fine to have a little bit of reaction. And she made this video yesterday, so that's fantastic. That means it's new. Should be new and funky. So, all right, Kate, take it away. Let's see what we got. I'm just going to be giving my thoughts as we go.
Or how may I help you?
All right, I want to go right back to the start because I didn't think we'd miss anything, but it seems like she gets right into it. I like that.
How can I help you? Or how may I help you? Which sentence is correct?
By the way, as you can tell, Kate is a non-native. That really is no problem at all. Some of the best teachers that I've ever known in my life have been non-native teachers. I realise that in some countries there's a stigma against non-native teachers. I think that's very unfortunate. I don't think that whether you're a native or a non-native of language teaching, I don't think it really means anything about your ability to teach. Obviously, there is going to be a little bit of difference in terms of real knowledge of the language, but you have to bear in mind that a lot of non-natives have advantages because they've learned the language. And there are many native language teachers which haven't learned any languages. I think that's very unfortunate. I'm fortunate enough to be a teacher who has learned some other languages, so I can speak from experience in that way. But I just wanted to get that straight right away, that non-native teachers can be great, actually. They can be brilliant. And on my podcast with Neil, ELT Under the Covers, we've talked about non-native teachers. We've interviewed non-native teachers. So, no stigma there whatsoever. Let's go.
Can you give me a pen, please? Or could you give me a pen, please? Which one is correct? Watch this video and let's find out.
I'm not going to be too critical of Kate's introduction here, because I know that the way YouTube works is you have to get something juicy at the start to keep people watching. So I'm going to accept that what she's just said is whatever. And now I'm going to give you my criticism, but take it with a pinch of salt, because of course on YouTube we all do things that are a bit funky in the first few minutes of a video in order to keep people watching. All right? Okay, so what's my problem? My problem actually is the fact that she says which is correct without any context. That actually doesn't make any sense. So it would be quite nice if we see in this video that Kate later says, hey, look, they're both correct. It depends on the situation, because that is the real answer. Anyway, let's find out. Let's see where she goes. I need an introduction. Can someone make me an introduction like that? I want something like that, but better. No offense, Kate. It's lovely and it obviously works because you've got 1 billion subscribers. But I would love. Do we have any graphic artists on ProfRich yet? I think that would be fantastic. All right.
Hello and welcome to English Lessons with Kate. In this lesson, we're going to talk about the most common modal verbs in English, and you will learn how to use them correctly. In the
again, we have that use of correct. Anyway.
First part of the video, we're going to talk about general rules.
I like that sound effect. I actually use that same sound effect in my videos. It's one of the, if you type in like free sound whoosh, it's one of the top ones that comes up.
You should know to use modal verbs correctly. In the second part of the video, we're going to learn the difference between can, could, and may. At the end of the lesson, we're going to have a little quiz to test your knowledge.
I really wish that she was saying gonna instead of going to, but that's just a personal gripe. And by the way, once again, that's nothing to do with native or non-native, because loads of native teachers on YouTube do that as well. Now we're going to blah, blah, blah. And yeah. It's just people. It's just not what people say when they speak naturally. It really isn't. And even when they say that it's what they say, it's not. I've caught people out. I've actually had discussions with teachers in the teaching room. Gunnar, that's American and informal. We don't use that. And then 2 seconds later, I walk past their classroom and they're like, oh, then we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And I'm like, I knew it. Anyway, okay. Sorry, Kate, carry on.
So please stay with me until the very end. You probably have learned English tenses, past, present, and future. But modal verbs are a little bit different. These are the most common modal verbs: may, might, must, can, will, could, should, would.
That's interesting, isn't it? She's introduced these as the most common modal verbs. Actually, what she's done is introduced all of the pure modals except for shall. So that's an interesting way of phrasing it. The most common modal verbs. I think if I were to categorize the most common modal verbs, I think I would limit it a bit more than that. It is true that shall is the least common pure modal. That is true. But all right.
These modal verbs are often used in English conversations. But there are two modal verbs that are used very rarely.
Oh, here we go.
Ought to and shall.
I just realised that my face is actually blocking her lovely text here, so I'm going to go there. That works, doesn't it? So, she's included a semi-modal there, which is ought to. And then she's put shall, which is a pure modal. So, that's interesting, because then I have to ask, well, if that's the case, Kate, I'm sorry to be so critical here, but if that's the case, Kate, and you're including semi-modals, then where is had to? Because had to is mega common, like have to and had to. People use that all the time. So where is it? It should be on your list here if we're including semi-modals, right? And also, as I just explained in my question section, I don't think we should put ought to and shall in the same category. Like, first of all, shall is the most rare, but when it comes to suggestions or proposals from the first person, shall is mega common. Like, shall we have a coffee? Shall I come to the party? Shall I help you? That's a very, very common use of shall. As for ought to, as I explained before, yes, rarely used, but it's used for formal situations. Let's see what she says.
Now I'm talking about American English. In American English, they rarely use these two modal verbs.
It's like the get out clause for teachers, isn't it? If like a student catches you out on something, you go, in British English, not American English. I do it as well. Fair enough. Fair play, Kate. But I don't think I agree when it comes to shall. Should we get a coffee? Yeah, Americans say that, right? Americans say that all the time. Shall I come over and give you a hand? Yeah, definitely. They use shall. I'm not sure about ought to. We order. Yeah, they use ought to as well. Because they say it like order. Why I order. They do. They definitely do. They use ought to and shall. So there's nothing special out there about American English. That's a bit of a blanket statement from me, isn't it? I should be a bit more careful about this. Americans use ought to and shall, and I don't think there's a great deal of difference in the uses that I talked about between American and British English. However, do you remember before I spoke about shan't? Okay, I can't imagine an American saying shan't. That sounds really weird. So, yes, there obviously are some differences there. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking. Are you aware that my coffee is mega strong? Can you tell? All right, let's carry on.
I'm going to explain the verbs shall and will later today, so please keep watching. Now
I love these reminders to keep watching. I need to do that. Hey everybody, keep watching. By the way, smash that like button if you haven't done already.
Let's talk about the important rules we need to know to use modal verbs accurately. Rule number 1. Modal verbs don't change. For example, we say, I play, he plays. We add an S for he, she, it. But we do not change the modal verb. For example, I can play the guitar. He can play the guitar. Do not say he cans or she cans. The modal verb always stays the same. She should do the task.
All right, as you might imagine, I have some problems with this. I have some big problems with this being rule number 1 and rule number 1 of use. She said these are the rules for using them correctly, And then we've gone rule number 1, and we've gone straight into form, right? Now, you might remember at the start of this class, something that I said is that we want to always start with meaning before we go on to form. Form is important, but it comes later, right? So start with the meaning, and then we'll talk about the form. Unfortunately, here we've started with form, and we've gone rule number 1, we don't change the form of the modal verbs. All right. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about it. I don't want to be too critical. Fair play, Kate. Very good. 1,000,000 views. Let's carry on.
We should do the task. We do not say shoulds. Do not change the modal verb.
I mean, that at least is true, right? It is true. And to be fair, it's not really a mistake that many students make. The more common mistake that students make with form is that they say, I should to go, or I must to do it. So they use the infinitive with to. That's probably the kind of more common form mistake that students make. So really the focus should be on the verb form that comes after the modals. And I have a magical feeling that that's what comes next, but let's see.
Rule number 2. Use the base verb after a modal verb.
Ding, 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 ding.
We use the base...
I did watch this video briefly, so kind of cheating. But I didn't watch it fully, only briefly.
Verb after the modal verb. The base verb is the infinitive form without to. She might go to the party with us. We do not say she might to go to the party, or she might go into the party.
That's useful.
It is wrong to say this.
That's true.
So the verb...
Another thing I just want to add here is that's useful, what Kate just said. Very happy with that. But I don't like this idea of it is the way that she stressed wrong to say this. It's better as a language teacher to emphasize that it's inaccurate, or this is the most common way. That you'll hear me say that a lot. Like, this is the most common way, right? And kind of taking the emphasis of that's wrong, or that's mistakes are horrible, and mistakes, right? Let me tell you something. As a language learner, you are gonna make mistakes all the time. And if you listen to native speakers long enough, you'll start to notice that they make mistakes. And if you tell them that they make mistakes, like you say, I remember I had this from, I'm sorry to pick on the Germans, I had this from a German guy. Excuse me, but let me just do my German accent. The present perfect cannot be used in this way. Don't tell me how to use the present perfect, all right? Language is a natural, alive communication tool that we use to communicate. Don't get to the point where you're telling native speakers that they're using the language wrong, all right? And personally, I also try to encourage a similar attitude in non-natives. When you reach a certain level, we get to kind of advanced C1 level, and then it's like, yes, of course, you want to be more accurate. You want to use a model of a native speaker normally to aim towards. That's where you want your language to go. However, we can also be a bit creative, and let's accept that some mistakes are inevitable. All right, let's continue.
After the modal verb stays the same. Do not add to. Do not add ing. Take a look at this sentence. I must finish the project. I often hear my students say, I must to finish the project.
Yeah, that's true.
But we don't need to use to after the modal verb.
Yeah.
I must...
Yeah, it's a super common mistake, especially at kind of B1 levels. And particularly with certain kinds of students. Mediterraneans do this quite a bit.
Finish the project. I must do it. Not I must do it. No. Rule number 3. In negatives, we use not after the modal verb. We never use don't, doesn't, isn't, aren't, wasn't, won't with these modal verbs. I could not understand the rule. It would be wrong if I say I could understand the rule. We must not forget about the meeting. It would be wrong if I say we must.
I wish she'd contract there. Mustn't. Yeah. I'm not saying that we always contract. Just 99% of the time. But okay. Also, this error also is not very common. The rule number 2 one, that's quite common. But people don't often make this mistake, actually. It does happen. It tends to be very low-level students, like A2.
Forget about
A1.
the meeting. You cannot, you may not, you could not, you must not, you will not, you would not. Or we can use contractions. You cannot becomes you can't. You could not becomes you couldn't. You must not becomes you mustn't. You will not becomes you won't.
It's good that she introduced
contractions. You would
contractions.
not becomes you wouldn't. Please pay attention to the structure cannot. We say cannot, but it's actually one word.
Good point.
I cannot.
Although it's like mega rare that people actually write cannot. Most of the time people would write can't, even with the contraction. Only in very formal writing would you actually write cannot.
I cannot do that. When we spell this word.
This is a good point though, especially for people who have to compose formal writings for exams.
This is a really common mistake. Rule number 4. The modal verb always comes first in questions. Could I help you with your essay? In questions, a modal verb comes before the subject. In this sentence, we have the subject I and 2 verbs, could and help.
You have to be a little bit careful making rules like the modal verb always comes first in questions. To make those kinds of statements, you will notice that I avoid making statements like that because what we've got here on the screen is not true. It's not true. For example, oh, you need help this weekend. My brother could help you. My brother could help you? That was a terrible example, wasn't it? Okay, another example. Do you think you could help me with my essay? Do you think you could help me with my essay? So there is a modal verb in that sentence, but it doesn't come first in the question because the question starts with do, as in, do you think? Do you think you could help me with my essay? So you have to be very careful saying things like that, like she said on her board right now. Yeah, I don't think I would say that. I wouldn't teach that, and I would not teach it like that. What I normally teach is that the modal verb takes the position of the auxiliary verb, the helper verb. And students normally know that because they know the present simple and they know the question with present simple, do you? Do you want? Do you want a coffee? Do you want a coffee? One of the first things I teach, by the way. If you're absolute beginner of English, then one of our first lessons will be about, do you wanna? Do you want a coffee? Yeah, I want a coffee. So we learn wanna. We learn the question, do you wanna and wanna. So one of the first things that you learn is the present simple and the question, and that do is at the start there with do you wanna? And we teach the little asi, which is auxiliary subject infinitive. That's the word order, right? And then when we go to modals later, then I can say the modal verb takes the position, donc, of the auxiliary verb. It's the position of donc, do, right?
Do I could help is not correct. Am I could help is also not correct. So, in questions, the modal verb always comes first. And
how do I get my teeth white like that? Answers in the chat. By the way, I'm British. We have a reputation.
We do not use auxiliary verbs like do.
I'm serious, by the way. If anyone knows how I can get my teeth white like that, then let me know.
Did, does, am, are, and so on. Can.
Okay, so that as well is not good to say we do not use auxiliary verbs with modal verbs. That's only true to say in the same clause, because in different clauses we do use them. Also, how about this? Could we have a coffee? We could do. Sorry, Kate. We could do.
Does, am, are, and so on. Can, could, and may. Now let's talk about these 3 modal verbs that we usually use when we ask questions.
By the way, the only reason I'm being so critical here is that Kate has got like 1 billion subscribers, all right? So she can take it. It's okay.
When we ask someone to do something, can, could, or may. But how do we know which one to use? First, when we ask a question, we ask for permission or we request someone to do something for us. We start the question.
I like this. This is how I would like the video to start, but I understand why it didn't. Kate is clever and she knows what students want. And the reality is that students want to know about form. And that's why she put the form stuff at the start. Because students always want to know about form. It's just what they come with. And it's in school, it's what you learn. Form, grammar. So you want that at the start. So that's why she did it. It's for the algorithm. Okay, so it's fine. But this is the good stuff, isn't it? And it's a good explanation actually that she's giving here. She's talking about making requests and asking for permission. Now we're getting the functions and we're putting can, could and may together, which is a reasonable way of grouping them. As I spoke at the start of this lesson, there's overlaps and there's different ways of grouping our modal verbs. But I think it's reasonable to put those 3 together in this context.
With can, could, or may. We use can in more informal situations.
Let's see where she's going.
I mean when you're with your family or friends.
Okay.
We use could in a little bit more formal situations when we make a polite request. For example, with your colleagues at work or when you're in a store talking to a salesperson.
No. It's just not true. And also, yeah, being at work and being in the store is a bit more formal than being with friends or family. That's true. But I don't think there's any difference in how I use can and could with my, well, sorry, not any difference. I don't think there's much difference with how I use can and could at home or at work, for example. So yeah, I don't agree with that.
May is used in formal situations.
I do agree with that.
When you're talking to a customer, client, or giving an interview.
I don't agree with the situations, though. The thing is, right, that may is used in more formal situations and it's kind of more polite. That's true. However, I just don't think that customers and clients is a particularly good example. It's not really formal enough, you know? An example for me would be like if you want to impress your mother-in-law with how polite you are. So you say, "Oh, may I pour you some water?" Or something like that, right? And you're kind of trying to impress someone with your very nice manners. Or you're in a really nice restaurant or a 5-star hotel and you want to, use that really, really polite, really formal language.
And you're trying to be very formal
But to be fair to Kate, the general idea is correct.
and very polite. There is one important grammar rule. When forming questions with can and could, any subject pronoun can be used. We can say, for example, can I, can you, can we, can she, can he, could they.
We could actually expand on this and say any subject can be used. But the point she's making is it goes back to that form point that you don't need to add the S to the modal verb. That's really the point she's going to here.
Could she, could he, okay? But when we use may, we can just use it with I or we.
Ooh. Let me think about that. No. It's not true. I think it's correct to say that may is more commonly used with I and we when making polite requests. However, it's not true to say that we can only use it with I and we. So, for example, we have to go, but my son really wants to stay at the party. May he stay with you for a while and we'll collect him later? It's okay. My 2 children really need to use the toilet. May they use the toilet in your cafe? Yeah. Also, if we're using may to mean a wish, because we can use may for wish, like may it rain or may the king rule for 20 years, right? In that situation, absolutely, obviously, we don't use it with I and we. We could say, may I be blessed, as Julia kind of mentioned in the chat. But yeah, we can say may anything, right? May the world be at peace. So there's that example as well. So yeah, just not true, this one, Kate. I don't know where this came from, though. Why she said this. Maybe it's in a book somewhere or something, but it's not true.
May I or may we?
By the way, I make mistakes. I do have a video called Teachers Are Not Gods. So I'm by no means saying that I don't make mistakes, all right? Just to make that very clear.
we can't ask permission for
But this is a mistake.
someone else. May I borrow your pen? May we sit here?
Some pretty good examples there.
Now let's
May I borrow your pen? May we sit here? That's good. Nice little phrases.
compare 3 different words in the same question. Can I have some tea? Could I have some tea? And may I have some tea?
This is the best thing I've seen so far in the video. And if you notice, we did some of this last class on Wednesday. We did some of this comparing different modals in the same sentence and talking about how does that change the meaning? How does it change the meaning? So I'm excited now because this is some good stuff. How does it change the meaning? Can, could, may. Great, let's talk about it. This is really useful.
If I'm at home, I can ask one of my family members, can I have some tea? This situation is really informal, so we use can. Let's say I'm in a coffee shop. It's a little bit more formal situation, and I could ask, could I have some tea? And now let's imagine that I'm in a fancy restaurant ordering some tea, and I would say, may I have some tea? Also, you could
I don't agree exactly with what she just said, but the general sentiment is true. So we'll go with it.
add the word please. You may also hear, can I have some tea, please?
Yeah.
I often hear my students say, it's not correct to say, can I have? Or it's rude to say, can I have? It's not. It's not rude. It's just less formal. People say
Yep. That's good. Good point. Good point, Kate.
that. That's totally normal. And now I'm talking about American English, not about British English or Canadian English.
I guess it's fair enough that she keeps using this disclaimer to say, oh, I'm talking about American English, because if that's the variety she's most familiar with, then it's fair enough, isn't it, really? But to be honest, I don't think there's a great deal of difference between British and American English in the situation that she's talking about right now.
Just American English. The phrase can I have is commonly used in everyday speech, and it's simply less formal. It's a direct and straightforward way to ask for something.
Well, I can testify that it is commonly used in British everyday speech as well.
Every time you
Just, can I have? Yeah, it's a really, really useful phrase. Can I have? Could I have? Notice there's almost no difference in pronunciation. Can I have? Could I have? Can I have? Can I have? Most of the time, people won't even know whether you're saying can or could because of the word stress. Could I have? Could I have? Could I have a latte, please? Could I have a latte, a grande latte with extra caramel, please?
You go to the store, you will hear, may I help you? And you can also hear, how can I help you?
That's true. And you know what? The Americans love that one. They love to say, may I help you? That is absolutely true. I remember noticing that 20 years ago when I was in the US, and you go to the shops and they're like, may I help you? They always do like really extensive intonation. You'll notice that if you go to the US, like their customer service intonation is like, it's like times 10, right? So they're like, may I help you? And then when you like finish eating, they're like, oh, thank you for dining with us. Like they go like way over the top with it. And then you compare that to like a British formal restaurant where they're like, have a lovely evening, sir. It is funny. Yeah.
Both phrases are commonly used in customer service. The modal verb can is not always about a skill or physical ability to do something. For example, can you swim? I can't swim. We're talking about the ability. But it is also about asking for permission and giving permission. For example, can I go home now? You can go home now. Will or
And we're back in third quarter play.
Thank you very much, YouTube. Yeah, I don't use an ad blocker. How about that? All right, we're back in there. I almost wanted to pull up my little chart here from before, because she made an interesting point there about using can for, what was it? Permission or ability. But if you remember my chart from before, we also have prohibition, possibility, and we have a clown face. That means a complicated situation where we can use can with advice, decisions, suggestions, and willingness. Willingness? Really? Rich? Are you sure? Can you give an example? I can actually give an example with willingness. So, for example, look, I really need your help tomorrow. I know you're super busy, but please, can you just help me just this once tomorrow for 5 minutes? Okay, I can. That's willingness. I'm expressing willingness. So, yeah. So can actually can be used for lots of things, not just permission and ability. Although, to be fair, ability and permission are probably the most common. And general possibility. Yeah, you need to put general possibility in there as well. Like it can rain in summer. It doesn't usually, but it can. They're the most common. Oh, sorry, muted. Here we go. Shall and will. Let's see.
About the difference between shall and will. Shall is going to sound more formal and more polite than will.
I don't know about polite, but yeah, certainly more formal.
I shall call them now sounds more formal than I will call them now.
I shall call them now sounds super formal and quite unusual, even in British English.
Like I said before, native speakers do not use shall so much in American English.
Or in British English.
It's not incorrect, but it may sound very formal and very polite sometimes.
That's true.
In polite questions, shall is used when we ask something or offer something. Shall we? Shall we dance?
I wish she'd use the weak form pronunciation there. Like, I wish she'd say, shall we? Right? Because that's how we say it in American English as well. Shall we dance? That's my American accent. Shall we dance? Shall I do the dishes? Shall I do the dishes? In British, shall we dance? Shall I do the dishes, darling? Excuse me, darling, shall I do the dishes? Shall I? Even when I speak like in that super pompous way, like, oh, hello, darling, shall I do the dishes? I still say shall, because it's the weak form.
Or, shall I do the dishes?
To be fair to Kate, it's a gripe that I have with most of the tuber teachers that they do that, by the way. It's not only her. Loads of them, when they demo the language, they do this mistake, including channels that have English like a native in their channel. Do that. They stress the weak forms. And Because of that, we have students who get to advanced level and they struggle with comprehension of weak forms and they struggle with fluency because they're trying to say everything very strong. And it's very difficult to say everything with a strong form. That's why we have weak forms.
In this case, I'm making a polite offer to do the dishes. I'm offering to do the dishes. But it sounds very formal.
Whoa. Actually, it doesn't. So this could well be a US-UK difference. But I did speak about this before. Shall I are super common ways of making suggestions. So shall I get it for you? Or should we have a coffee? Should we have a coffee? Should we get a coffee? Should we get a coffee? Should we watch a movie? What do you think? Should we watch a movie? That's not formal. It's just a very, very common way of making a suggestion when you're in a group. Should we? Should we get a coffee? I'm pretty sure the Americans do that as well. You know, I used to have loads of American friends when I was younger. Now I don't really have any. So it's different. I have to, whenever I think about what an American would say, I start to think about TV and like when I was 25 and I had loads of American friends. And I always think, do they do that? Should we get a coffee? Pretty sure they do. Yeah, so I don't think it's that unusual to say should we and shilla.
We can just say, should I do?
Oh, she's using should instead. Let me think about that. Should I do the dishes? To be honest with you, that sounds a bit weird to me. Should I do the dishes? Should I do the dishes? Actually, no, it's okay. It's okay. Should I do the dishes? Yeah. It's just an alternative.
Do the dishes?
I don't think there's a great deal of difference there in formality, though, to be honest. Shall I get you a coffee? Should I get you a coffee? Should I get you a coffee? Shall I get you a coffee? Shall I get you a coffee? Should I get you a coffee? There's a bit of a difference in meaning, actually. With the should, it's like there's a sense, there's a feeling there of a need or obligation, as in, oh, it's my sort of, oh, is it, it's kind of like saying, is it my turn? You know, should I do the dishes? Like, is it my turn? Should I do the dishes right now, darling? Right? Whereas, shall I do the dishes? That's more like your offer, your standard offer. Shall I do the dishes? It's like saying, how about I do the dishes? And you do the laundry. Right.
It's more natural way to say this. We use will when we talk about decisions we make in the moment. For example,
that's true.
I will call them now. I will go to the party.
But we never say it like that. We always use the weak form. I'll call them now. Shall I go to the party? Did you see that? Did that sound formal to you when I said that then? Shall I go to the party? That's not formal, is it? It's just every day. Shall I go to the party? Yeah, I will. I'll go. Yeah, I will. Short form, stressing will. Yeah, I will. I'll go.
When we ask a question about the future or make a request, we often use will. Will you help me with my homework?
You can use will for a polite request.
Will you go to the party?
Will you go to the party? Will you go to the party? Yeah, you can. You can say it like that. You know, personally, I think the most common way of saying things like that is with gonna. Like, are you gonna? Are you gonna? Are you gonna go? Are you going to? Or just are you going? Are you going to the party? Are you gonna go to the party?
Now let's have a little quiz.
Yes, let's.
Let's check if you can use modal verbs correctly.
Let's see.
Question
Can I?
1. Which sentence is correct?
Let's go.
A. He can speak 3 languages.
No.
B. He can speak 3 languages.
Yeah.
C. He can speak in 3 languages.
No. Oh, okay.
He can speak 3 languages.
Okay.
A. May I to use your...
Okay, hang on. Let's keep going. I think that might be...
Good job today. I hope this video was useful for you, and now you know how to use modal.
Oh, while we're here, folks. While we're here, make sure you smash that like button and hit subscribe. Smash that like button. Hit subscribe. For me, and for Kate if you want. Not opposed. Absolutely fine. That's it. So thank you very much for that, Kate. Did a little reaction there. That was English lessons with Kate. And I think there were some interesting points there. Some things to learn. And gives you a little bit of a contrast between the things that we learnt today and the things that Kate talked about. Now, there are a few questions in chat, which I'm going to just have a look at. And then we have some homework to look at. And I'm going to do it all. So let's see. Let's see what we got. Bum. Luke's podcast. Oh, I know that guy. He showed up in my... Yeah, I've seen him. Yeah. All right. I'll do it. I'll do Luke next week.
Hello, listener.
Oh, he's got a good voice, hasn't he? Hang on. Let's just do that.
Hello, listeners. Hello, video viewers. Welcome back to the podcast.
Yeah, I like this guy. I've seen this guy, Luke. All right. Yeah, we'll do a bit of a reaction to Luke. Yeah, I feel like Luke is the kind of guy who will notice that if I do a reaction to him, and we'll get something back. So yeah, I'll do that. We'll do that next week. Nice podcast voice. Hello, everyone. Great. I don't have a podcast app. Yeah, YouTube's good. Spotify is pretty good. Autumn's high, wash the dishes. That's brilliant, I know what. Language is alive and changing. I recommend you take a look in Spanish. Take an example. The rule for first person says amar. I'm sorry? Really? Wait, are you saying that people say yo amar? Surely not. Take out the infinitive amo. But now ir, first person boy. What? Oh, right. Yeah, that's an example of irregular verbs, isn't it, Enrique? And actually go is the same in English, isn't it? Because, it's like we have things like, particularly in the past, where it just becomes went. And be is obviously the big one, isn't it? Be in all languages is just absolutely crazy because it's so irregular. In pretty much all languages, be is irregular. Do you know why that is? It's because it's the most used. And when something is used a lot, then it doesn't become rule-based. It's just how people use it. Right? It's all done based on... I mean, that's how languages are, really. It's all convention. It's how people use the language. Right, let's move on to the homework then, folks. So this was the homework. I was going to do it next Wednesday, but I feel a bit guilty about it, so we're going to do it today. So the homework was, what theme and style of game would you like to develop most? Draw a map or design or level, blah, blah, blah. So we are going to look at that. Before we look at that, we have homework from Zoya. So this is homework from last week, and I forgot. Sorry, Zoya. So we're going to do it now. We're going to have a listen to Zoya's homework. First homework we've had from Zoya. So let's get excited. Hearts in the chat. And let's have a listen.
Hi, Rich and everyone. I'd really like to talk about the stress topic. Unfortunately, it's quite widespread, and I think that managing our stress is crucial to our well-being. So for me personally, what works out is going out for a walk, talking to a friend, playing chess. Another thing that really helps me is listening to music and dancing. Well, but I have found out that these things help me just temporarily. So what I've learned is that when I'm stressed out, I really try to dig deeper, to stop, to check in with myself and really see where I'm going, what I'm doing, if I'm going in the right direction, if I'm doing the right things. Because usually, if you're stressed out, that means that your balance is tipped. So when I find out that I'm really stressed, I take time to dig deeper and to find out where the balance is tipped. Maybe other people have really put their wishes and demands on me, and I haven't, and I've accepted them unconsciously. Maybe I have really delved into work to the neglect of my family. So as a result, my plate is really full and I'm in a bad condition. So for me, it is a really beneficial time to really explore my inner self and find answers to these very important questions, which is why I think stress in this way is so useful.
Wow, that was brilliant, Zoya. Yeah, I only have good things to say about that. That's a lovely accent that you've developed. We can hear that you're a non-native, but I think you've obviously done some work, and you come across as someone who uses English communicatively in your daily life. That's my guess, that you either work with English or you live in an English-speaking country, or you just use it quite a bit, or you learnt it when you were younger. I'm not sure, one of those, but it's good anyway. We've got some great vocabulary there. And from the kind of vocabulary you were using, it seems like this topic is something you know a bit about. And we have a bit of kind of new agey vocabulary going on there. Do you meditate, Zoya? Explore one's inner self, I think, was a giveaway there. And accept something unconsciously. Yeah. I think I'd probably prefer to say subconsciously myself. You could say unconsciously, though. We can. So when we say unconsciously, it means we're totally unaware of it. And subconsciously means if we really pay attention, we can tell. But it's difficult to notice. It's time to dig deeper. Excellent. Dig deeper. Yes, digging deep. Coming from the verb dig deep. Dig deep, which basically means get into an idea or something. Doesn't have to be an idea. It could be a book, couldn't it? We need to dig deeper to find the solution. Get into an idea or something at a more extensive level. Yeah. Dig deeper. Let's dig deep. Let's get into something more extensively. That was absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much, Zoya. I look forward to your future contributions to the homework. And I'm sure that the other people in chat look forward to mining for vocabulary from your submissions. Donk, donk, donk. There you go. Vocabulary mining. And if you don't know what vocabulary mining is, it's when you listen to something and you pull out phrases like I've done here, and then you choose some of those phrases to integrate into your language. And if I were to recommend one to you here, it would be Dig Deep, because that's awesome. All right. Right, let's move on. I think this is Pallavi.
Hello, teacher. May I say first of all that I don't know if I don't know if this homework is wrong or right, but I'm not sure about it because I didn't understand the homework very well.
By the way, this is exactly what I told Pallavi to do, because she kept saying, oh, I don't understand the homework, so I don't want to do it. And I said to her, do it anyway. Just press record and start speaking. So that's what she's doing.
And I will continue to speaking while pausing the audio, please. I want to say sorry, teacher, because I didn't send the drawing anything which was included in this homework. And I actually point out 4 things that
A lovely phrase for making an apology there. I want to say sorry because it's great. It's better than just saying sorry, isn't it? I want to say sorry because it's a nice phrase.
can develop in a game.
By the way, you don't need to apologize, Pallavi. It's fine.
The game I chose for the base of my homework is Pokemon games that I used to play with you as well. And first thing is I want to develop is level. I don't know if there's no level in the Pokemon game. I just noticed that when I was playing the game. And the second thing is there should be multiple players who can play the game at once.
She's doing it. Kind of. This is excellent.
I would say more than 2 players. That would be great. And the third thing is there should be no time limit for playing the game. For example, when I was playing the game, it was it was notifying me that it's 30 minutes and the game stops. I mean, the Pokemon maybe get tired. And the fourth one is there should be more guidance for the new players, because the guidance for the new players in the Pokemon game, I don't know, there's no guidance for not much guidance for the beginner.
I agree. She's talking about the Pokemon game that we had on the Discord server for a little while, and it's true. It was incredibly difficult to work out what to do. I was quite impressed, actually, that Pallavi worked it out not too bad, and a few people were playing it a little bit. It was not a brilliant game, in my opinion, but for someone who doesn't play a lot of games, then I can see how it might be interesting.
And that's maybe difficult for the player who want to play the game, but it's important to understand how those things work and so on. And thank you so much.
Yeah, awesome. All right, thank you, Pallavi. That was fantastic. Thank you so much for your submission, and thank you for a contextual example. Contextual example of using may for possibility. Fantastic. All right, cheers, Pallavi. That was brilliant. Right, now we've got some visual submissions. So moving on to Vladimir. By the way, this is actually what I asked for. I asked for visual submissions. So we got Vladimir's here. Ta-da! So what do we have? Let me just make myself a bit smaller, a lot smaller. There we go. Hello, I'm tiny. We've got a storyboard here. RPG Pie Comics Doughboy Adventures. During cookies, meta ball, bubbles fall. During cookies, meta ball, bubbles fall. Okay. And we have a picture of something happening. And then we have the doughboy appeared. Oof. Yeah. Okay. So this is a video game, by the way, if anyone's thinking about that. Doughboy Adventures. The doughboy saw useful microbes on a pie, comics, pages, and ate some. Oh, the doughboy saw useful microbes on a pie comics page and ate some. A pie comic. Okay. I guess that's the comic that we're reading now. This is a self-referential game. The doughboy turned into a delicate and crumbly... What's that? Orated? Orate? I can't understand that word, but okay. The doughboy turned into a delicate and crumbly pie. Caracol. Okay. Yummy. Can I just say, Vladimir, you have a very, very, very good imagination. There is potential for great creativity there, sir. My advice to you is learn marketing and business, because creativity is brilliant, but it's very difficult to monetize creativity. So keep up with your creativity, but learn marketing and business, and you could be a millionaire, possibly. All right, well done, Vladimir. Thank you so much for that very, very interesting and creative video game. Next, we have... Oh, I can't remember who this was. I'll have to check. I'll check in a moment. I don't even want to say a name in case I get it wrong. Shimi. This is Shimi. How do I rotate this thing? Come on, we can rotate it. Yes, donk, donk, donk. There we go. So we have a lovely piece of artwork. I feel like Blue Peter now. This is a lovely piece of artwork here from Shimi. And we have a Prince of Persia looking game with someone jumping across platforms over a fiery pit at the bottom and some rather interesting blue clouds at the top. Oh, maybe this is based on Tomb Raider. Did you know that there's a new Tomb Raider remake that's just come out? It's very popular at the moment. So we've got something that looks almost a bit Tomb Raider-ish. Looks like a cross, actually, between Nathan Drake and Lara Croft. Brilliant. Lovely piece of artwork there. And I just want to add, by the way, you might not see the relevance between learning English and artwork, but actually there's a lot of relevance. Doing things like this creates connections in your brain and helps you to learn. It really does. It really does. I do arty stuff in my classes all the time, and I'm not an arty person. I'm not an arty person. But we do drawing. Sorry, not all the time, that's a lie. Quite frequently, like maybe once a month, we do some sort of drawing in our English class. And yes, it helps because it makes connections. And also people talk in English while they're drawing. Ah, that's rubbish. Ah, look at this. Oh, what are you doing? Anyway, absolutely lovely. Thank you, Zoya. Not Zoya. Who was this? Shimi. Shimi. Thank you so much. Absolutely lovely. All right. We got one more. We got Julia. So Julia took it to the next level, which is why I've saved it until last. Julia wrote a thesis. Well, not quite. I'll show you the pictures first. So we got these pictures here. Plot holes and sound design are the pictures. And then we've got some text, and I'll read the text, give you a bit of reading, give you a bit of listening practice. So here comes the text. Homework, 17th of February 2024, prepared by Julia Hata. Is that how you say it, by the way, Julia? I always wondered what the Hata part was. Let me single out plot hole and sound design under the subject of game design. Plot holes, by their very nature. I'm going to do corrections as I go, Julia, so you can get your script up and pay attention to the differences in what I say compared to what you wrote. Plot holes, by their very nature, are an unpredictable element and aren't, to my understanding, limited only to video games. They also... They are also prevalent in other sectors, such as literature, film, and other forms of storytelling. Thanks to... Wait, let me just process this sentence because it's given me a headache. We need to do more writing like this because it gives me a real chance to dive into some of the things that you're writing and some of the things you're saying. So what Julia's written here is, thanks to its abrupt changes and twist and turn nature, we can't have a foregone conclusion captivating all of our attention from head to toe. And that sentence is making my brain explode. Remember, we're talking about plot holes. I think that, Julia, you meant plot twists, not plot holes. Yeah, this should be This should be plot twists, Julia. So we're talking about plot twists. So, thanks to abrupt changes and twists in the plot, the reader or the listener can't come to a foregone conclusion, and the story captivates our attention from start to finish. Put it all together. Put it all together. No, I don't like the use of put it all together there. Take it out. So, we're watching the story, and then it takes a devastating turn, sparking our interest and arousing our curiosity all the way through. Great. Sound design. Sound design entangles sound effects, ambient music, and... Sound design entangles sound effects, ambient sounds, and music. Sound effects is closely related to game design. In the global scheme of things, it is the art of shaping audio to specific goals. I don't agree with shaping audio necessarily. It's more like selecting audio for specific purposes. On the other side of the coin, it can apply in various ways. No, it can be applied. On the other side of the coin, it can be applied in various ways, such as advertising, podcasts, music, and commercial TV or film, aside from game design. Sound design, sound effects create a profound impact on our emotions and can influence the effect of our storytelling. Whether it's a film, podcast, or commercial, sound effects can elevate our overall experience. The whole shebang, so to speak. Nice. All in all, talking about this is really out of my element or my expertise. In the fertile ground of my mind? You're being a bit too poetic there, Julia. But, okay. A penny for your thoughts, guys. Are you on the same page with me? Lovely. Great. Thank you for that, Julia. And you have inspired me to request further written homework in the future, because I think it was very useful for me to see your written script and to go through it and to give some corrections and commentary on that. So that was really good. Thank you for writing a little piece there. That was great. I'll put it in the notes in case anyone wants to see it. There it is. There's the writing. Great. So how you all doing? I've been streaming for 2 hours and 40 minutes. Neo's like, what age groups you guys? Neo, I'll tell you the demographics of my channel. The popular age group is 30 to 40. That's a very popular age group on my channel, 30 to 40. I got a lot of students 30 to 40. And we are about 60% female, which is a change, by the way, because when my channel was popular 10 years ago, it was about 85% male. So lots of guys. Now we're about 60-40. I don't know why that is, by the way. I think it's to do with Oxford Online English, and a lot of the students came over from Oxford Online English, and that's actually mainly what changed the demographics of the channel, actually. In terms of countries, India is number one. Loads of people from India watch. And then after India, Vietnam and Russia are also big draws. And then, weirdly, it's like UK and US. So there's a lot of people out there watching from the UK and US. If you're one of my UK or US viewers, smash that like button now. I assume that's non-native learners of English who currently live in the UK or the US. So, yeah. And Neo says, yo, Indian in the chat. Brilliant. All right, so I need to give you some new homework. So this will be homework for next Saturday, the 24th. And it should involve modal verbs, shouldn't it? Let's do a writing. Let's do a writing. We're going to think about the past. What daren't you have done which you wish you would have? I'm going to give you some options because that's a tough one. Think about the past. Choose one question to answer. Right. Tell a story about a time something should have happened, but didn't, and you were happy about that. Or just do two. Yeah, there's your two possibilities. You can choose. And this one is going to be a writing. Write your answer using informal spoken English. So in other words, write as if you are speaking. Yeah, let's do that. I'm excited about that. So that's your homework assignment, folks. And if you'd like to participate in the homework today, when I write, should I translate from my native English to English? No. Don't use any writing aids like Grammarly, Word, or translation. Just write directly into the notepad and then send the text to me. That's what I would like you to do. I mean, what's the point? If you wanted, you could use ChatGPT and produce an amazing piece of writing. But I want this to be beneficial, so just write naturally. Just do it on the spot. 5 minutes. Sit down. Bash it out into Notepad, and then you can send it to me. And in order to send it to me, you must join our Discord. The link is in the chat. Finally, Eve, you would like to give thanks? Oh, how long? Thank you, Neo. Thank you for that. That's a good reminder. Max, 250 words. Min, 50 words. So maximum 250, minimum 50. That seems reasonable. Let me disappear for a second. Donk. All right. There it is on the screen. I'll post that in the Discord as well. So, if you have enjoyed the stream today, there is a way to show your thanks. You do not need to do this, okay? Nobody needs to do this. These streams are free. These lessons are free. However, if you wish, you may buy me a coffee. There are several ways you can do that. One is you can give a super chat, which Manuel did, I think, a few weeks ago. Or you can go to the link here in the chat, which is bit.ly/thankyouRich. If you want to buy me a coffee. And it's quite good, the link, because actually if you super chat, YouTube takes quite a bit of that as a cut. But if you use the link, basically everything goes to me. The cut is very small. It's like 10 pence or 20 pence or something. Very small. The vast majority goes to me. So if you'd like to, but you don't have to. Just if you'd like to. All right? Thank you. So I'm just giving you that option. In future, I may have some other options. It depends how serious we get. I do feel like the channel's doing quite well. I feel like we have attracted some new subscribers. Of course, it would be nice to be doing better. We aspire to the heights of Luke's English podcast. We'll be reacting to Luke next week. That could be fun. He looks like a funny guy, actually. I'm just looking at his page now. But things are going quite well. If you want to know how you can help the channel grow, by the way, just one thing is recommend it to people who are learning English. Don't recommend to anybody. I only want people who are learning English. Right? So if you need help with your English, then this is a good channel to join. But if you don't need help with your English, then yeah. Don't do that. Hi, Mum, if my mum's watching. Or anyone else. Yeah, I prefer only for people who need help learning English to be watching. That's the audience. And YouTube learns about that, by the way. So it learns if someone is target audience for the channel. So it's actually helpful when someone who really is someone who watches English learning videos and comes here and goes, doing, I like that, then that's great. All right. We are coming to the end. I feel like I'll give you another another little quick. Any final questions, folks? Any final questions on your mind before we finish up? I'm dragging this out a little bit because we're going to break the record and be the longest stream on the channel. Yeah. Oh, did you? A few months ago, I shared your channel to a local English learners group. Thank you, Julia. That's absolutely perfect. I mean, that kind of thing that Julia's just mentioned, that is perfect. Like, if you have any local English groups, or if you're in an English class with people or anything like that, and you recommend the channel to someone, that's like the best possible thing, especially when it's a local group of English learners, because it picks up on, like, a relevant audience which may not have seen the channel before. So it's really important. Thank you, Julia. That's wonderful. Sleepwalker, always with the good questions. So Sleepwalker says, in a sentence, the police are questioning two men. Can we use only are in this case? Ooh, nice. Manchester United have bought a new player. Manchester United has bought a new player. The police are confused. The police... So my normal answer for this is that, because often we think of these things called collective nouns, and collective nouns are actually things like Manchester United, okay? Manchester United, or the English, right? Now, my kind of go-to answer on collective nouns is to say that in British English, we always use are, right? But the Americans sometimes use is, right? That's my go-to answer for this. So they will say, like, Manchester United is a good team versus UK, Manchester United are a good team. Right? Not so much with the English, though. However, the police appears to be different. The police seems to require are always. Yeah. I don't think it's possible to say the police is. I think the police is obligatory plural. So this is kind of like people, right? The word people. The word people is always plural. So we don't say people is. Even though it's a collective noun, it's a plural irregular form. So the police are investigating. So your answer is yes. Can I possibly think of an exception? Not with police, but with words that mean police, you can do it. So you could say something like, the old Bill are onto us, right? The old Bill means the police, but you could say the old Bill doesn't have a chance. And then we're using it like singular. The old Bill is slang for the police. So you can't do it with the actual word, the police, but you can do it with an alternative. So that's interesting, isn't it? What about the cops? No, that's got to be R. It's got to be R for the cops. Anything else? The feds? Yeah, that's got to be R. The cops, the feds, the coppers, the pigs. Sorry if anyone's a policeman in the chat. I apologise. But it is genuinely a word for policeman that people sometimes use. You might have seen it in the film Wayne's World. Yeah. Anything else? Anyway, getting sidetracked. The answer's yes, Sleepwalker. Thank you. Plavi says, "Oh my God, teacher, you're still live." Yeah, we're going for the longest ever, Plavi. Yeah, it is the longest one. Yeah, I think we just passed it just now. Almost 3 hours. Could you tell the difference in energy between when I start and now? I'm just going through the list to check. Oh, have I gone way over? I think I've gone way over. The last one was 2 hours and 45 minutes. Is that right? Yeah, it was. Yeah, we're way over. We're 10 minutes over. 10 minutes into the longest one ever. Let's see. Did you check the homework? Yeah, I did, Plavi, and I was very, very happy with your homework. It was super awesome. Hearts in the chat. Thank you very much. It was great. Sleepwalker says, I saw that sentence in the test, so I was surprised is. I answered is, but it was wrong. I was surprised. Yeah. Yeah, it's a tricky one, Sleepwalker. It's a tricky one. It's because... It's because of what I said before. We have this thing about collective nouns, and there are collective nouns. First of all, there's uncountable collectives, right? There's uncountable collectives, and obviously with uncountable collectives, it's always going to be singular, right? Because with uncountable nouns, we always use singular. So we've got uncountable collectives, such as milk. Right, that's an uncountable collective. And we say something like, milk is good. All right. We're using the singular, right? But we also have plural collectives. Well, we've got plural collectives. And with plural collectives, it seems like we have two categories. We have sometimes, or we have flexible, and then we have always plural. So Manchester United is what I would call a flexible collective noun. Let's call it a flexible collective. And the police is an always plural collective. So, whereas we can say Manchester United is a good team, we can't say the police is good. Because the police never come alone to arrest you. Indeed, Anawat, indeed. A man speaking from experience. Yes, indeed. But you can get police on their own, can't you? It's just, in that situation, you'd refer to the policeman or policewoman. Neo says, sorry, I don't know how to use Discord and send my homework. Super easy, Neo. Click the link down below the video, and then join the Discord, then react with a green check mark. React with a green check mark to the rules, right? And after you do that, then you just send the homework directly to me. That's it. Super easy. No problem at all. And you can download Discord as well. That's the good way of doing it. All right, everybody. Thank you very much. Amazing if you stayed this long. And if you did stay this long and you haven't yet smashed that like button, then what's going on? Can you smash that like button, please? Because what? We've just been streaming for 3 hours. All right? Smash the blooming like button. Can you hear my throat? It's going to take me all day to recover. Of course it's been my pleasure. Of course it's been my pleasure, everybody. It always is. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. And thank you very much for listening this long. Smash that like button. And I will see you on Wednesday. I think it'd be appropriate to celebrate this stream, because it's been super long, with a little bit of outro music, or an outro. How do I do outros again? I'm sure I can do it. Just want to make sure that I don't press the wrong one. I seriously feel like I'm going to press the wrong one. It's funny, you start to get like mega fatigued after doing it for this long. Which one is it? Is it this one? Yes, that's the one. That's the one. All right, great. Okay, here goes our outro music. Is that working? I can't hear it though. I want to hear it as well. Otherwise, it doesn't work. This one. Go. Cheers, folks. Have a lovely weekend. That's Pepper. Live. See, people often say it's a dog's life. I think in reality, it's a cat's life, isn't it? Thank you very much, everybody. Have a lovely weekend, and I will see you next time.